Hey everybody, it's Darrell with the Back 40 broadcast. If you're here with us live, welcome. We always love meeting you here, give you a few tips and nuggets and nudges to support you in creating your second half as your best half. And today I want to talk a little bit about playing ugly. So, one of the things we say here in the Back 40 is that you have yet to do what you came here to do, and that your second half can and should and ought to be your best half. And if those are the case, then it's going to mean growing and learning. And to a certain degree, sometimes at certain ages, we get to a point where it's like, well, I've learned what I need to learn, or I don't need to put myself through all of that because I've achieved a certain level. And you know what? Absolutely you have. And many of the people that join our community have achieved really, really wonderful things and big accomplishments, and yet are empowered by the idea that you have yet to do what you came here to do. And one of the things that will happen if you're really taking on growing into whatever it is that's going to get you closer to doing what you came here to do. Is it a business you've always wanted to start? Is it a book? Is it a community that you're wanting to contribute to and bring a message to? Is it an awesome relationship that you have yet to fulfill on, knowing that that's really possible for you at whatever age? But whatever it is that if you're going to take on growing, it won't necessarily look pretty if you get started. And one of the biggest reasons people don't get started is because they want to look pretty. They don't want to risk looking bad or looking silly or doing something wrong. And so, they don't even get started. And so one of the things that we want to shift our mind around as we're moving into the Back 40 to do what we really came here to do is the willingness to just get out there and play first without knowing everything that, we're going to learn, without knowing it all, but just get going and play, and knowing that it won't necessarily look good, and letting go of that attachment, letting go of the attachment to how we look, like just getting started and being willing to play ugly. Even myself, as I'm growing and developing ways to bring this message of what the second half has to offer out, I'm growing, and I don't necessarily always act the way I wished I would act, and I'm not as politically correct, or I'm not as empowering, or whatever. And so the point is, and that's what inspired me in writing about this today in our weekly Jolt Note and doing this broadcast, is that I bet I'm not the only one that when you're growing and you see that you're not doing it right, there's a tendency to maybe like, oh, well, I should retrench. I should pull back until I know more, and I'm going to, do it right. And I say that that's going to stop. It's going to stop whatever your growth will give the world. And so if we're here to do what we came here to do, we want to grow and expand into that as soon as possible. So I came up with a little fun, playful way of exploring what it is to play ugly, the 4 dwarf faces of playing ugly. One of the things that I will say is that in the work I do with executives or entrepreneurs, people who are playing big games, is that I say if you're really up to grow to an extreme level, then you have to have the exact amount of self-compassion to support that. Because just like I said, if you really want to grow, but you're shooting holes in yourself and didn't like the way you did that, and you're your biggest critic and all that kind of stuff, it's gonna be a weight on that level of growth. I call it the compassionator. So to the degree that you have your compassionator in place, then you can keep growing and growing and growing, because you're not supposed to have it all figured out if you just get out there and play. And by not playing, you don't figure it out. You can only learn by playing. So the first dwarf phase of playing ugly is grumpy. And this is where you really want to develop this ability to start observing yourself, to step outside of yourself and kind of just observe and see how you're being. You know, you're committed to growing, but how are you being about it? And so I say, go ahead and get into it. Get into the grumpy. You know, get in front of the mirror and get that scowl on your face and, you know, tell yourself you sure looked silly when you did it that way, or man, you shouldn't have done it this way, or that didn't work out, and just get all grumpy and, you know, realize how frustrated you are and, you know, that it's not working out. Just, you know, get grumpy about it. Then allow yourself to get dopey. Realize that whatever, if you're really taking something on and, you know, you're a whole different person now than you were in that thing 2 months ago, whether it's dating, whether in the second half you've decided to take on that, wow, I really can have that relationship. And, you know, you've gotten on the dating sites and, you know, you've, you know, kissed a lot of frogs, you know, but rather than, oh, I'm not doing something right, or you know, staying in your grumpiness, how about acknowledge that you're a lot further than you were. You're a lot further than you were a couple months ago. You didn't even know what was going on in this area. If you're looking to grow a business or build a business or bring out a message, you know, look at where you were a year ago. Where were you a year ago? And really start to lighten up a little bit. You know, remember how dopey you were about all of this, you know, just a short time ago. And that starts to lighten up, you know, whatever you did right now that didn't look that good, or, you know, you didn't look too pretty. It's not going to kill the world. To be honest with you, not many people are watching. You know, as much as you think, most people aren't really watching. They're paying more attention to themselves than they are you. And then the fourth dwarf phase of playing ugly is doc. Do a little prescription on yourself. And really, if you're out to grow, it's going to be your own internal systems, your own internal prescriptions that are going to give you the more of what you need. I mean, you know, this whole idea of self, you know, compassion, as I said, to the degree that you can be self-compassionate is the degree to which you can grow. How can you champion yourself? How can the doc, you know, give you a prescription of self-championing, of you know, affirmative self-talk, you know, of extreme self-care, you know, but really turn the doc in, put on the doc face for yourself. And then lastly, happy. You know, again, it's like if you're taking on growing, you're a small percentage. And well, if you're taking on growing and you're taking action on it, you're in a small percentage, because most people want something, or they have dreams or ideas of one day, and yet this idea of looking good and not making mistakes or needing to have it all figured out stops them, just keeps them paralyzed. So, you know, take on that you have a lot to be happy about. And, you know, it's in the lightness. It's in the lightness of just playing, going out again and playing, offering what you got, and learning as you go, and being willing to, you know, not look good as you figure it out and as you get, but as you're making those progress steps, keep looking back. Whoa, where am I now compared to where I was just a short time ago? So there's a few hopeful, and I wish I'd had the pictures of these guys today, but you know who I'm talking about, right? Here's the main point, is that if you're going to grow, then you're not going to look Snow White, right? So hopefully that helps you in taking on what you're up to next. And just the question is this, you know, what is important enough for you and to you to really be willing to play ugly? So be sure and grab your top 10 tips for a radical second half flow. Come back here every week at 10:30. Join our community, read our blogs. We're all about supporting you and creating your second half as your best half. And have a radical week, and look forward to seeing you again.